Welcome back, everyone, to our next talk. This one is with Christina. Christina is test engineering manager at a Fortune 100, test automation evangelist, and for functional and non-functional testing, and a blogger. So she has quite experience in the industry. Today, her talk is about full stack testing is the new normal. She won't be here today, so the talk is pre-recorded. And if you have any questions, so there won't be a live Q&A session afterwards, but in case you want to ask her any questions or get in contact, you will find her contact details in the chat. I will just shortly post them there. And now let's start with her talk. Have fun, everyone, and then see you later.
Hi, I'm Christina Thalayasingam, Test Engineering Manager at Northwestern Mutual. I'm so glad to be part yet again with TestCon Europe. This would be my second talk, and I'm glad to be part of this. You could follow me on Twitter, and you can tweet away as I speak. If something that touched you or something that provoked you to think, if it's thought-provoking. And yeah, you would have seen me in different conferences. I think the introduction was pretty helpful here. So I'm not going to spend time introducing myself. So before we start with the topic, which is a very interesting topic today, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Have you ever felt like Patrick here, where when testing the application, functionality seems to be working fine, but the performance is super slow when you check in the network or Lighthouse, and then basically you realize that the application is super slow and you raise an issue. So once that issue is fixed, you tend to see that functionality is all of a sudden breaking, or vice versa. There's been issues on and off, and this is only being spotted at a very later stage, which is very sad and also very hard in terms of helping out with sticking to deadlines and going forward with a release, right? So as we talk about this, you would have situations where one thing gets fixed and the other thing starts breaking, and it keeps on happening on and off. And there's changes everywhere, and literally you're looking at an application that is prone to break in all angles because there was something that was not conducted before, which is called full stack testing. Today, we're going to mainly focus on how important full stack testing is and how rarely it's given much importance, and how teams are so much claimed to looking at UI testing and not looking at other layers of the application or doing other set of non-functional testing. So today we're going to talk about how we can make full stack testing as the new normal, which is the new normal at the moment, because that is something that most of the companies look out for, especially when they are putting out a job description. Now you would see that when it comes to a test engineer, they're looking at more of a full stack test engineer, even though they don't call it out there. That's what they're looking for. And it helps the test teams to spot issues easily by getting used to this process. So that's what we're going to look at. And in case there's a team that wants to get into full stack testing, how can they approach it? That's what we're going to talk about in the topic full stack testing is, or in the new normal. Okay, so it is the new normal, even though it's not openly spoken about, and it is in this new normal that we have to start moving into full stack testing. So what is full stack testing, and how to become a full stack testing team, and how is that continuous testing process going to come into full stack testing, and the benefits of the full stack testing? These are things that I am going to cover today with you. So what is full stack testing? Now, there's a common term saying full stack developer, right? It's in development or in engineering part of things. Yes, they are someone who needs to know all layers and be able to understand it and execute it or create the application and be able to handle all layers of the application. In the same manner, full stack testing is the ability, or basically the ethos of full stack testing, is to find the issues or basically test the application in all layers, so that I do not completely say that we are quality engineers. We are more of test engineers who test the application in all layers before it gets shipped to production, right? So we need to make sure that the application works as expected in all layers. That is not only in the front end, but also the back end and the middleware, and also making sure that the non-functional aspect of it is also covered. So that is very important. So why is full stack testing the new normal? I mean, this new normal is a common word due to the ongoing situation in the world. We have brought in this new word or phrase, I would say. But why is full stack testing considered the new normal in the testing world? Right. One thing is that as I started this talk, I mentioned to you that, you know, secretly or subtly, there is this need for full stack testing, and you would see that in most of the job descriptions that come out for a test engineer or a senior test engineer or a test lead, or basically anyone who works in the testing industry would realize that now this is the most important set of skills, even though the whole word full stack testing is not used. Other than that, there's a lot of changes going on there. There's a lot of requirements. Like if you take API testing, SOAP was dominating the API testing world for a while, but now it's REST, and then there's GraphQL. So there's a lot of changes there. So we we are looking, or the world is looking, for a test engineer who's able to be flexible, who's able to make sure that he or she can test that without any issues. So that is what we are looking for in terms of full stack testing, right? The ability to find issues in the functionality, and so that we know that the quality is not impacted, or the quality is impacted, and we need to make sure that is being fixed, right? Narrowing down issues at an early stage. You don't want to be like Patrick before release, trying to do some sort of change and then figuring out, saying, oh dear, we just found an issue and we need to fix it, and then it gets fixed and the new issue is introduced, then yada yada yada, it keeps going on and on and on. So that's not going to work at all, right? That's going to be really, really painful. So this is why full stack testing has been given more prominence and more importance as the world is moving and understanding the importance of full stack testing. It's no longer required that you rely on test teams that come at like a later stage. Like, for example, performance testing, most of the time I've seen that it's conducted mainly by a different team, which is not the great practice. But yes, we need those experts who know inside out of performance engineering, who can do the right things. But why not do some part of it at an early stage, so by the time these guys join or come on board, you wouldn't really have as many issues as currently you have. So that's an important thing. And creating the value of giving fast feedback is important, because the faster you give feedback on a story level testing, it's better, because everyone's mind is fresh. They know what they did, they fix it then and there, it's over, chapter closed, you go. But after like 4 or 5 weeks, the developers already moved on and you come up with this bug. I mean, that happens. I'm not saying that you shouldn't report a bug that way, but it takes a while to get that fixed and so on. So it takes some time, and that impacts your deadlines, your release dates. And end of the day, if you even don't find that, then it goes into production, and then you achieve an embarrassing moment there, right? So that is something that we need to think about in terms of doing full stack testing. And that's exactly why it is the new normal. Now, I'm going to share you a stack of pancakes. No, I'm just kidding. So this is basically the whole overall insight of what skill sets you would need to be a full stack test engineer, right? You would have to have the product expertise, which eventually, like, you join a team, you would eventually get there. You would have to have the ability to effectively communicate, understand the architecture and design, do system testing, come up with test design and software testing techniques for the particular application. Think like the end user. Say, okay, if you, like, even during the story level discussions, if you do see something that has a problem in terms of feature, question it and say, as an end user, I don't think I like it. I'll get confused, right? So that's something that a full stack tester should have, that ability. There's also the usual things where you should be able to do test management, reporting, analyze, and commit with metrics, and then UI level functional testing, exploratory testing, and like service level, both the functional and end-to-end unit tests. Also, some teams do have the developers do it most of the time, which is good. In that case, you should be able to review it and understand it, and obviously work with the developers to see if you can submit more value to it, which is very important, because end of the day, if there's test driven development, it's really good, because one of the main things that gets avoided after that, like, once that is covered and the coverage is great, you don't really have to ponder on especially the positive scenarios, but you could, like, do your exploratory and do negative scenarios and so on, which is great about it. You also should be well versed in understanding continuous integration and development and delivery. Have that DevOps mindset and make sure that you leverage that, because end of the day, full stack testing is not automation testing. Just letting you know, it's about understanding all the layers, but automation testing is a part of it. Once you do all that whole aspect of testing, see what can be automated and not, and that full stack automation is going to then be part of continuous integration. So that's why continuous testing mindset and continuous integration mindset is important. Then comes performance, security. There's things like accessibility and stuff that I haven't really added here because it depends on the teams and so on. But those are all part of being a full stack test engineer and understanding code quality and so on. So yeah, Genie here is dropping his jaw and saying, that's a massive list. Are you saying, this is the whole thing of becoming a full stack test engineer? Okay, like, I have some of it, I don't have all of it, so now what do I do? I'm in a mess. Yeah, I understand. So you cannot change your destination overnight, right? But you can change your direction overnight, and that's what we're going to talk about, on how we can address the change and how can we bring in this new normal within our team and make it a reality, right? That's what we are trying to talk about today. So first of all, if you're going to start, clean up the mess, right? Make sure that the process that you're currently following doesn't affect anything or helps with making full stack testing possible. So straighten up the process. It can be anything that you currently follow. Look at it after this talk. You could understand what is important and what is not, right? So have it all straightened up, because end of the day, if it's going to be messy and if it's not organized, you nor your team would not be able to reach that level of getting into full stack testing, right? Or making it possible, because it's not an easy task. Remember that whole stack, that pancake, but once you have that exposure and then you have that clarity and you touch all those aspects, you would be able to then get hold of most of the valuable issues, right? Those without waiting till the last minute. That mindset helps the test engineers to troubleshoot issues even and actually give more value as they write their bugs, which is very helpful. So if the process isn't right, they're not going to get there because it's going to take a while. Next thing is make sure you select the right tools. Now, the tools depend on your requirement. Today, you might be part of different talks. You might have been part of different conferences. You would have seen people talking about various different tools. There's a rich set of tools out there in the industry, which is awesome. So make sure that you evaluate these tools and choose the one that works well for you. Now, I can come here and talk about tool A, tool B, tool C. Doesn't mean that it would work well for your team and your process. Evaluate it. Yes, definitely listen to these talks, be part of these, look at YouTube or read about them, but make sure that you choose it based on your requirements and not because someone speaks about it and says it has cool features and it works really well for his or her team. Right? It needs to fit the tech stack that you are working on, which is very important as well. You also need to make sure that you can handle basically that application can handle or the tool can handle your daily workflow, which is very important in this case, right? So that is something that we need to make sure and we need to handle in terms of doing the testing, right? So we need to choose the tools that also fit our team skill sets. It needs to work well with the integrated systems as well. If there's something that really you have to make sure, if there's other teams working with your particular application, there could be different teams working on different projects, but they will talk to each other in terms of being integrated. Then how do we find those issues? And also has ways for the team to be trained. Like, for example, there's documentation out there. There's things like also details out there that help you in finding out these issues at a very early stage, right? So that's something that's very important. Next, the most important thing is you have a believing team. Now, if a team doesn't believe in full stack testing and they think this is painful and this is something that they can't work on and they think that they cannot get here, you're not going to get this team there. Trust me. It is not just your dedication as a team lead or a manager, but it's also the dedication of the team itself. They individually will have to believe in it and work hard to get there. Because again, reminding you that whole list that made Genie drop his jaw, that entire list is huge, and not all individuals in the test engineering world do have all those skill sets. And that's one of the reasons that especially as like when teams are looking out there for people, they don't tend to fit that whole set of skill sets, and that really kind of is painful currently given the current circumstances. But remember, full stack testing has become the new normal, and that's something that needs to make a change. Make the team believe that it's not only for this company that they're working at or the team that they're working for, but it's also for the rest of the world. Once they start going there and being part of another team, they would need these skill sets, and it's very important that they get used to it and learn it and have exposure to this, because it's going to be very helpful for them, and that's very important, right? So give them that idea as you go into it. Get the right people to drive this ideology. So get the good shepherds to lead the way so that they will also influence the team. So whoever you choose, like if say you're a test engineering manager and you have teams that you need to bring this in, let them be able to get that idea that how this is important. Try to understand that, make them understand, and obviously you will have to understand that first, and how it will help the process and bring in old examples and say, okay, if we had done full stack testing, we would have avoided this issue, or so on. So that is very important. But also keep in mind that you will have to consider company priorities. As a leader, you would have to think of project allocations as well. So that's going to be a bit of a constraint, which you will have to think through and talk to your managers or higher management and try to understand how you can still make this a reality. So full stack testers are basically technically jack of all trades. So I've kind of heard that this term could be a bit negative as well, jack of all trades, masters of none. Now, that's not the case here. You can be a master of one and be a jack of all trades -1, right? Basically, you could get hold of the skill sets, diverse skill sets, and become jack of those trades and be master of one. So that's the whole idea of this. You're great in your API testing. You're awesome. You just know everything about it. You've done so much, but you've not done much of like mobile testing or like UI testing, and you want to get a bit of exposure because it's needed for the team. Then make sure that you get that skill set. But yeah, obviously you might not get the time to excel in it. But when a issue occurs and a particular bug is found, you could be able to troubleshoot it, or you could even find that issue because you have that idea now, rather than not knowing it at all and just being a master of one, right? Because the team needs those skill sets, right? So the best part of being a jack of all trades, or basically of those trades that are not the one that you are being a master, is that you become a blessing for the team that tries to initiate this full stack testing. Adaptability and flexibility is key, because then you'll be able to like, okay, you're really good at service level testing, but when it's needed, you can be thrown into looking at UI and you're not restricted to that, or you're into mobile or performance, so on. You're a long-term learner because you're going to continuously learn. You're going to read about it. You're enthusiastic about learning other things, and you're going to keep on, upgrading your skill sets. And one of these great fit for leadership. So this person, as you become that jack of all those trades, other than for the one that you're mastering in, you are great fit because you can drive the team, at least have the general overview of all these skill sets, so that you can drive the team and then get the masters of one of each of those skill sets to help the team grow. And that's what we're going to talk about. So we need to get the help of the masters of one, right? I'm not saying we only need a jack of all trades. That's not good at all. So we need that masters of one to come on board and give us ideas and train our teams, and maybe be part of our team even. That's great. So these people are going to be great, especially in terms of if a team doesn't have a certain skill set, they're basically good at like awesome manual test engineers, but they're not well versed in like service level or something. We need that person to come on board and train this team. Now, if you are one of them, you're the leader, train the team so that they will be able to get hold of that information. But we need the help of masters of one, otherwise the team is not going to get anywhere. So that's important. So going forward, the masters of one are your BFFs to create a team of jack of all those trades. Right. So the next thing, which I already spoke about, is no more working in silos. At least do not rely on those silo teams, right? It's one team, one dream kind of concept, right? You work as a team, train each other, teach each other, learn from each other, and basically work together in terms of like difficult tasks, and so that everyone gets an idea. Shadowing each other is a great skill for a team, and that will be really helpful so that the rest of the team also gets some sort of exposure, a virtual hands-on feeling in terms of that particular or task that they were working with. Now, the question would arise is that, okay, what happens to the silo teams? Are they going to get fired? Not really. So we need the help of them, right? And we need them to be part of the team and help them help these teams, because we want those masters of one. That's why right before this slide, I said they're going to be BFFs. So these masters of one, they will train you, they'll give you ideas so that you will make their life easy. Now, just bringing an example of being a silo team as a performance testing team that I've seen most of the companies do have this, is that performance testing is done mostly by a silo team. Now, this silo team is basically working on performance, and they are waiting for the team to come and give them the requirements. But they also are working on various other teams, and there's so much going on. One team trying to cater for so many other teams, and they're overwhelmed. And then by the time they come on board, it's too late, and then you find issues, and then yeah. So why don't you do like at least the light lifting, and then maybe later they can come and do the heavy lifting, or you start with light lifting and later on start doing the heavy lifting, and then they come and do the most sophisticated stuff, and not just do like the general stuff which is already covered by you. So that is very important. So here we need them, but doesn't mean that we have to wait for them to come and find some of the issues that can be spotted in an early stage. So that's the overall idea. We want to select a feature or a story that is very simple for you to start with, right? So that is why where you start with in terms of full stack testing. Now, when you come up with like tools and stuff, yeah, I would say select the most complicated one in terms of creating a POC, which is important. But when you're getting this team used to full stack testing, you need to start with the simple ones, because they will get worried and they're going to be going back to square one and saying this is not working out, right? So that is very important. Have bi-weekly meetings or some sort of meetings so that all your team members get together. They talk about what worked well for them, what didn't work well for them, and then they can share the knowledge on how things worked well for them, and probably another team it didn't work very well. Probably they were not doing it in a specific way that the other team was doing. So it helps the two teams to share their knowledge and make the best out of this. Work as a team and help each other in this manner. It's going to be very helpful, right? And one of the main things is that you need to scrutinize what is new and what is out there in the industry, because that is very, very important. So continuous learning and scrutiny of your process and the tools that you use and how you approach things is very important. This doesn't only rely to full stack testing. So yeah, I wouldn't say that this is a thing that you need to do to gain full stack testing. It's about everything. So make sure that you have that in mind as you go forward. And making sure that trainings are done. So like one thing that I felt was great is like assigning certain skill sets to some of the team members who are very keen in learning them. When you have your one-on-ones, ask them what they're more interested in and they're looking forward for. Ask them to learn it themselves, maybe allocate some an hour or two for their self-learning, and then you should be able to then get them to start learning and get hold of the particular aspects of things and helping each other, right? So that's one thing that's very important, and that'll be helpful so they can then conduct training sessions and so on, right? The next thing is about continuous testing. So full stack testing is again, it's not automation testing. So it's about making sure you understand the application on all layers. And then, yes, to make things easy, you bring in automation, right? Making feasible, especially things like performance and all. It's better if you automate it. I mean, it's very difficult if you're going to do it's in a manual manner. So therefore, once you have it automated, then you can go into thinking of continuous testing. So this is one slide that, I mean, this image that I got out of Gartner, which is very, very helpful, which is basically giving an overview of what continuous testing does. So it basically looks out for those issues in a continuous manner and keeps improving. And there's things like analytics that goes on, keep monitoring. And once you have automation, it goes on and it keeps testing so that you don't really have the same issues occurring again and again, right? So that's the best part of continuous testing. So finally, let's talk about full stack testing to continuous testing. So once you have like all this full stack, like everyone understands all the layers of the particular application, start testing the application in that manner, and they also understand non-functional testing. They are able to do some sort of lookout there manually. They start moving into automation, and as automation comes in place, that's going to be a repetitive process of running it in a continuous manner, and that's where you transition from full stack testing to continuous testing. The benefits, I'm going to leave you with the benefits of full stack testing. Now, you will now, as you move into becoming a full stack testing team, you will be a versatile team that the new normal is looking for. A team that gains vast experience, and that experience that the new normal is actually looking out for. You'll be an all-inclusive work, and the new normal, if you go look out there, the new normal is looking out for such all-inclusive work or all-inclusive skill sets in a test engineer. And now the team starts gaining this expertise, and they would be able to help be part of that testing world with that set of skill sets, right? And now the team is in a ability to troubleshoot issues at an early stage. They're budget friendly, and they're going to have timely delivery, and they can assume ownership of the product quality in a certain level, because they have looked at all layers of the application. And moreover, there's going to be a lot of continuous learning, which helps not only the team, but each individual to learn and grow and help that testing community to be, move into full stack testing overall, and be part of that testing community, and be able to sell themselves, or be there to help themselves to get a new job or be part of a higher level job role, because that's going to be very important, right? So that's why, as full stack testing is a demanding aspect in this new normal, and it is become the new normal technically. So you will have to get used to it. So if you want to get there, you will have to keep on learning, right? There are some setbacks in terms of when you are converting your testing team into a full stack testing team. One thing is you need to make sure that the productivity of the test engineers don't get affected, because they are going to be working and also learning. So that's going to be something that you need to talk to the higher level, see if you can loosen up some of the deadlines, and so that the team can get used to it. So also, again, you'll have to convince them in understanding how important this is, and bring in, always what helps is bring in old examples of something that didn't work very well, and say how it could have been avoided if this was the case. There's also things that you need to consider, which is again time management as you plan these aspects, which is very important as well. You should be able to keep up with the new trends, but that can be a very difficult situation, as you not only are training, but you have work is, the sprint work, the quarter work that you're doing is more of high priority. So you will have to, see how you can flexibly handle that without getting your work or your priorities impacted. The next thing that happens a lot is confusion between the team members about responsibilities, because all these days someone was doing performance and someone was doing UI, and there's all masters of one in your team, and then all of a sudden now everyone has an idea of full stack testing, and they're like jack of all those trades, that they are not masters of one. And then now someone goes on holiday, and then everyone's expected to, like, someone is expected to just pick it up without being even delegated to pick it up. So that's going to leave some cards on the board forever and ever. So therefore there should be a clear communication on who is going to pick it up and hand over, especially when someone is leaving or going on vacation or so on. So don't just imply just now you are a full stack testing team, so anyone can pick it up and anyone can just roll. That's not going to work. Okay, so finally I just want to leave you with one thing. Full stack testing is, no, mouse and an elephant. Just start small and aim big. That's what I wanted to say. It's not going to come all of a sudden from nowhere, but it's going to be what it is, right? So hopefully, thank you. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for having me. These are some of the particular references that I've used. And yes, you could reach me out if you have any questions or any doubts of that manner. Thank you.